cutting off the top of my head?
Nope.
Okay.
You're good.
Where are you going to sit?
Probably there. I'll
Okay.
move that.
All right, you got some paper? Starting to record or anything like that, I always think about Anchorman. I'll sit there and go, the Human Torch could not alone. So, whenever you have a teaching in our tradition, it's just traditional that you stand. I'm just this guy, I know a few things. I'm not like Lama Jim or anything, but it's traditional to stand with whoever it is, even if it's like a trained chimpanzee up there teaching, to let them bow in, and then you don't have to bow in if you don't like it. Usually the teacher bows in, and everyone else bows in, and the teacher sits down, and everyone sits down. It's just a tradition, so let's go ahead and get started. I love teaching. And then also just traditionally we do some opening prayers to acknowledge the Buddha and the lineage of teachers. And is that a United Federation? I love it. You're so geeky. That's awesome. So my Star Trek references won't be lost to at least one person. And are you? Okay, and by the way, we are the guests of Sensei Philip Pamahar here, who this is his place, P5 Academy. He's one of the most awesome martial artists I've ever met and has a big heart, and he's very kind to host us here. And so, and as part of that honor, he's also going to lead the prayers.
Sure.
This first one is mandala. It's just offering a perfect world to the teachers and to the Buddha.
Sashi
Buki Jukshin Metok Tram Viram Lingshi Nyende Genpadi Sangye Shindu Mikte Wargi Trokun Namdak Shingma Jubasho Iram Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniryatayami
Sangye
Churan Soki Choknamla Janchu Bandu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chushe Gipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupasho
Sangye
Jodan Soki Choknamla Janchu Badu Daki Kyapsuchi Daki Chushe Gipe Sonamki Drola Penchir Sangye Drupasho
Sangye
Jodan Soki Choknamla Janchu Badu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki chushe ki pe sunam ki trola penchir sangye drupasho. All right. Once again, welcome. Back up. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Cell phone's off. Okay. If that's bothering you, yeah. Okay. Air or no? We can also turn on the fans. It's really warm in there. You just kick that one. Great. So, underneath your prayers, you have an outline of this course, how karma works. And it's meant to be 10 classes. I'm doing 2 classes per session per Sunday. We'll take a break in between because there's a lot of talking that goes on. We're studying a very, well, let me talk a little bit about the whole ACI courses, Asian Classics Institute. My teacher, Geshe Michael Roach, was just this American guy who went to India, and back in those days you could just go like knock on the Dalai Lama's door and hang out with him and stuff like that. And the Dalai Lama said, you know, oh, and he's like a California and Arizona boy too, you know, but he really got into these teachings, and he's telling the Dalai Lama, it's like, you know, I want to move to India, I want to be here, I want to keep learning this stuff. He was actually on his way to entering Episcopal seminary, and then within 1 year, like half his family died. His mother died of cancer, his brother committed suicide, and then his dad died. And he's like, "Whoa, what's going on?" So that was part of the thing of going to India. Hey, no problem. Good to see you. Grab a pillow for.
There's one here.
Okay, and there's another one there if you need more.
It's holding up.
Oh, sorry, you should have called. Right? I guess you don't have my
I
number.
tried.
Oh, okay, you tried.
You didn't pick up.
You have your phone off? Okay.
Thank you.
So anyway, you know, so the Dalai Lama's like, you know, no, you should go to America and study. There's lots of good teachers there. Thank you for being here, Annette. Better be Lord Buddha calling. So anyway, the Dalai Lama said, you should go learn with the old man Tarchin, again Tarchin, you know. And he's like, okay, well, where is he? New Jersey. Now for a California boy, this was the last place in the world he wanted to go. But he kept on studying, he kept on practicing. He eventually decided to become a monk, and he spent about 20 years just going through the whole degree, the whole program. And it was kind of a surprise to him that it's like, okay, you're up for Geshe. What? That's like a double Doctor of Divinity degree. It's like after 20 years of study. And so he became the first American to earn a Geshe degree. And he started teaching stuff just to regular people like this, only it was like an apartment somewhere in New York, in Hell's Kitchen, I guess, a real bad part of town. And he put together 15 courses that were, 18 courses, 3 of them were review courses. It's about basically the essence of a monk's education. His teacher, Old Man Tarchin, is a Lharampa Geshe, and he actually escaped from Tibet. Like he was in line to be like the head of all of this, you know, lineage of Tibetan Buddhism, and you know, so he's shaving one morning and thinking, yeah, things are going pretty well, I guess. And then that's when the Chinese shells started to hit the monastery. So he and a bunch of monks ran for the hills, escaped. It was a great story. His nephew came out and told us the story of escaping from Tibet into India. And the Dalai Lama sent him to New Jersey. Because there was a group of Mongolians there in some little community in New Jersey, and they needed a preacher. Anyway, that tells you a little bit about those guys. So Geshe Michael Roach put together these 18 courses, And I started studying them in '99. This particular course I've taught, this will be my fourth or fifth time teaching it. It's really a cool course. A lot of detail in it. What else did I want to say about it? So I did all 18 courses, got a little certificate and all of that, and then they started this retreat center and university for higher teachings in Arizona. And me and my wife at the time were like, we gotta go. So we took the kids and we moved to Arizona, and I lived there for 9 years. After Diamond Mountain was over though, I mean, my bags were packed. I was so done with the desert. I just really wanted to come back to San Diego. So I'm glad to be here. Anyway, so I pumped up this course as how to alter the fabric of reality, and it's really true. It's a whole different way of thinking about things. I mean, everything that we'd like to have enough money, you know. I call it oxygen money. I don't need a lot of money. I would like to just have enough money, so it's like air, you know. I didn't like open the door carefully here to see, yeah, okay, there's air, you know. It was just there. I knew it was there, you know. I don't need much. Oh, do you need more oxygen? You know, want to go to an oxygen bar? No. What we have is okay. We want good so to get that, we have a business, and then we market, and then we do all these things, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Just driving out here on the 8, you know, through Hotel Circle, there's a big, you see this giant arch of balloons in the sky, you know, and it's like, whoa, what is that? Oh, it's a car dealership, you know. Like, what's the thinking there? It's like, wow, all these balloons, where do they go? Oh, right, I need to buy a truck, I forgot, you know, if it weren't for those balloons in the sky, you know. So we do a lot of things that don't make any sense. What if we could just plant seeds for the things we want? And that's how karma works. Same thing with relationships, you know, it's Friday and Saturday night. This area down here is loaded. Philip knows, he lives down here, you know, people trying to meet somebody. When people ask, you know, hear Geshe Michael's teaching all these high philosophical things, and then when someone gets to talk to him, you know, he says, yeah, I'm having trouble in my relationship. You know, it always comes up. You can apply the teachings to your relationship, you know. And he says, you know, like someone says, you know, I'm having a hard time meeting someone. And he says, okay, well, karmically, so go to an old folks' home. I go, Geshe, I was kind of thinking someone more my own age. No, you don't understand. You're lonely. You want to alleviate loneliness in the world. Old folks are really lonely, okay? So if this idea caught on of planting seeds to get what you want, by taking care of other people, I mean, the gas lamp wouldn't be loaded every night like the old folks' homes would be, you know, because people would know that that's how you get a good relationship. And if you're in a relationship, how could you make your relationship such that if you could have your choice of any other partner in the world, you know, there's Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, you know, and her right leg that was featured in the Academy Awards, if you saw it, you know. And it's like, and you go, no, I like my partner, you know. Why would I want either of them, you know? You plant seeds of alleviating loneliness in the world by doing that. As far as the money thing, giving whatever you have. I don't have a lot of money. I teach. I'm loaded with teaching, so I give these teachings away, and they're free. You know, very important that it's free. There's a couple of organizations around town that I really like, and they say by donation. And I'm like, no, you don't say that. You say it's free, and then you tell people, you know, if you want to pitch in, keep it going, that'd be great, but it's free. And so, you know, as a result, well, anyway, I digress. We've got a lot of ground to cover. It's the other thing, health, you know. You can try these vitamins, that exercise. You can try doing yoga. There's a whole article in the New York Times about like how yoga can kill you, you know. And it's like, well, how would you plant seeds for that? You take care of people who are sick. You help them out. Someone has a headache, you give them an aspirin, you know. By the way, that aspirin won't work. Someone gives you an aspirin, might work, it might not. Might take care of your headache, it might not. How well have you taken care of other people's health? It's very interesting. So that is kind of how karma works. Now, the reason we're getting into these ancient books is because, look, all kinds of people can make up stuff about how karma works or how things work. wouldn't it be nice to go to a reliable source? And it's like, okay, this has got like 12 centuries of research and development, you know, I don't think we can improve on that. So, so as you go through, today we're going to cover what's in Reading 1 and Reading 2. The first half of the course, or the class that is today, is a little bit boring, a little bit technical, I'll be honest with you. It's about the book, Abhidharma, Higher Knowledge, the structure of it, all the chapters in it, and a little bit of stuff about, okay, where does this fit into all the different, you know, Buddhist teachings? And then the very first line in Reading 2, which is the first line of the chapter on karma, is starts to get into how karma works, or where the world comes from. I think that, what was that, a tagline in my poster, you know, ancient books on why things happen and what you can do about it. And seriously, I hope if you stay with the course, you will at least get a sense and try doing things differently. And like I say, if the idea caught on, you know, the old folks' homes would be booked up instead of the clubs down here on in the gas lamp. You know, and everyone would be happy. Okay, it sounds really like selfish. You know, it's like, oh well, I want a relationship, so I'm gonna be nice to an old lady. Long story. There's nothing wrong with you having everything you want, because once you kind of have that. Well, first of all, you get everything you want by taking care of other people, not a bad thing. And when you're comfortable and not struggling, you're more available to help other people, so it's this upward spiral. And one more thing I'll say, my teacher, Geshe Michael, he, you know, he does do formal teachings in his robes and all of that, but what he's been doing, after teaching us the highest, most detailed, super secret teachings in Buddhism and stuff, what does he go around teaching? Karma. How to plant seeds. He takes off his robes and wears a business suit, and then he goes to China and he has these success seminars. He could not go into China with Tibetan Buddhist robes. Okay, so he goes and gives these success seminars. What does he teach? This stuff, but without calling it Buddhism, without, you know, I'm not going to make you bow down to some blue guy, you know. It's like how to get everything you want. And then it ends up being Dharma eventually, because somewhere, like, he gives 2 days of 3 talks and then a weekend intensive, and he takes a bunch of students with him to teach them yoga, teach them meditation and all that. But somewhere in the middle of the talks, he just kind of says, you know, once people are getting these idea of planting seeds for what you want, you know, and here's these business people, they're just out to get, you know, what they can. I want my business to be successful, you know, I want to have a good relationship, whatever. And then once he kind of gets him this idea of planting seeds, he just kind of goes around and says, what do you suppose would happen if everybody did this? Like, and then they stop and they have this vision of the world. It's like, there'd be no more hunger, there'd be no more war, you know. And like, so all of a sudden these businessmen have this vision of the world. It's like, what if everybody worked on karma, you know, and emptiness, and understood how that worked? It would fix everything. So that's why I want to teach this stuff. Sorry, I get a little misty-eyed. I start thinking about that world too, you know. Instead of putting like giant arcs of balloons in the sky to sell trucks, you know, what if you gave away trucks to people who needed them, you know, farmers or something like that. Ford's going, it's like, oh my gosh, Toyota just gave away 10,000 trucks to, you know, farmers in Defar or something like that. It says, we're going to beat them. We're going to give away 20,000 trucks, you know, and that's how, you know, you become the biggest truck seller. Anyway, that's a huge claim. We have to prove it with the book. So we'll talk about the structure of the book and the teachings, and then in the second part, after we take a break, we'll get into how it works a lot more. Any questions before I go on?
Are these for us to keep?
Yes, absolutely. No, they have little radio codes if you're trying to walk out with your alarm goes off. Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you can get all the readings. I can make books like this for you if you want, now that my printer's working, and I explained why earlier. Or you can download all the material. Just email me or whatever, and or I can send you a link, or I can bring in a flash drive, whatever you want. They're all in PDF, so like if you have like a Nook or something like that, you could read it on that. I like the Nook touch. It's like, man, instead of having this, if I could just have that here. And last course I had my computer up here, and it's distracting, and it's like, oh, I get to doing this and all that. So anyway, okay. So the book we're going to be studying is called, mostly referred to as Abhidharma Kosha. And I'll ask you to repeat some Sanskrit and Tibetan. It plants good seeds, okay? It's a really wise, a wise language. Tibetan's crazy. It's like it just dropped out of the sky. They say it's like part of the Sino-Tibetan group of languages, but it doesn't look anything like Chinese. It doesn't sound anything like Chinese. It's like it just dropped out of the sky. And there's about a 500-year transmission from India to Tibet. And since it was so isolated and they got so into the Dharma, it preserved well, okay? As it went off to other countries, Sri Lanka, and then over here to Korea and Japan and China and everything, not all the books made it, okay? And there's different emphases in different countries. I like Tibetan because they were right there close to India, and Tibetans are kind of like Americans in that they were like, not like cowboys, I guess like yak boys, you know. They're from Missouri, the show me state, you know. They would argue about it. And they were just kind of rough and tumble, you know, living out in these ridiculous mountains, herding yaks and all of that. You know, really, tell me more. It's like, oh yeah, why do you say that? You know, it's like, no, you don't understand. We're Tibetans. We're not like you pansy Indians, you know. We're tough guys, you know. So it's cool stuff. Anyway, so the book is called Abhidharma Kosha. Say Abhidharma?
Abhidharma.
Kosha.
Kosha.
Okay, that's in Sanskrit, and the book was written in India about 350 AD. In Tibetan, it's called Chu Nupa. Say Chu.
Chu.
Nupa.
Nupa.
Z. Okay, Dharma and Chu are the cool thing too about Tibetan. People say like, oh, you can't tell with this religion, you know, it's translated so many times, you know, it's like, who knows what they really meant. The Tibetan is almost syllable by syllable what the Sanskrit was. So anyway, so Dharma and Chu are the same thing. It means something that holds, a thing, okay? A Dharma is a thing, you know. I've got all these Dharmas back here, all right? Generally, Dharma means the teachings or the truth, okay? Mupa and Abi are the same thing. It means up to. And then Z and Kosha are the same thing. It means a treasure house. And it explains in the text where the book came from. And here's the cool thing about it. Like the Dalai Lama's coming, or here's the story. The monks, you know, the cool monks are like. The more I hear about monks in the monastery, it sounds a lot like gangs. You know, it's like, so what are you studying? You know, you just go, Z. You know, what are you studying? You know, and the Dalai Lama's coming too. You know, and there's going to be a lot of Tibetans around here in April. So, you know, oh, he took a class. What did you study? Really? And then you can give him the first line of chapter 4 on karma, Lele Jitenya Soke Denisam Pata Deche, which we'll get to in the second half, but very important phrase. This book was written by a guy named Master Vasubandhu who lived about 350 AD. In Tibetan, and I never hear his Tibetan name very much, but Lopung means master. Say Lopung.
Lopung.
Yikngen. This NG thing's a little bit hard. We don't have it in our language too much, but you can think like ring a bell, but just leave off the re part. So, or the Three Stooges. All right. It's kind of an interesting story about him. He and his half-brother wrote 2 of the 5 books that are studied in the monastery. Their mother was this nun who was meditating and praying that, you know, this is like 1,000 years after 700, 800 years after Lord Buddha. And she was praying, she felt that the Dharma was being lost. And like the story goes, she had this vision and some, you know, enlightened being came to her and said, you got to give up your robes and get married. Really? Why? Trust me on this. So she did. And how's it go? So she married a Brahmin, a holy man, and they had a son. And then one of them was Master Vasubandhu. Then she divorced the holy man, married a prince, and had another son, and his name was Asanga, and he wrote one of the other books that they studied in the monastery. So, and they really like brought together all the ancient teachings and like spelled them out and brought them together. So, kind of interesting. A good couple of brothers there. Master Vasubandhu, also the story goes, he was making fun. There's different strands in Buddhist teachings, right? Lord Buddha taught for 50 years. So one group will go on to this set of teachings. One group will go on to this set. One group will go on to this one. So the Sri Lankan monks say, no, the Pali Canon's the only thing Lord Buddha ever said, you know. They memorized it, they chanted it, that's all there is. And then other people go, no, there's this whole other thing. They're called the teachings of the greater way, the Mahayana, you know. It's like, no, that's, yeah, just because you monks didn't get that part, you know. It's like, there's this. And then there's another school that says, no, he taught this, which is kind of, anyway, long story. ACI Course 15, Interpreting the Buddha. We'll get there. Where was I going with that? The story is that Master Vasubandhu caught himself dissing one of the lower schools. You know, it's like, yeah, that's not really Buddhist, you know. And they realized this was a bad thing, so he decided to write up to preserve those older teachings, and came up with this book called The Treasure House of Higher Knowledge. He took books written by 7 of Lord Buddha's direct disciples. He took 7 of them and he put it together into these verses, and it's really dense. They're like mnemonics, you know, like you have to know what they're saying, you know. It's like one might be, keep the 3 and lose the 5 and you'll have the 7. Everyone who knows the studies goes, yeah, cool. You know, and we're like, what? You know, so we need a commentary, someone to break it out a little bit. It's like a zip file, right? So it needs to be opened up. We have someone very nice opening the zip file for us, His Holiness the First Dalai Lama. And one of his students, Jade Kappa. I'll talk about him some more. I'm already giving too much background. Treasure House of Higher Knowledge. So we have a commentary written by, the book he wrote that kind of unpacks Abhidharmakosha for us is called Illumination of the Path to Freedom, or Zutik Tarlam Selje. Say Zutik.
Zutik.
Tarlam.
Tarlam.
Selje.
Selje.
Cell is like a lamp, and J is like what a lamp does. So it's illumination of the path. Tarlam. Tar means like the end, or it's translated here as freedom. Lam is path. And then this is like verses or something like that. I'll have to double check. But Zutik Tarlam Selje, or just Tarlam Selje. It's a lot easier to say Tarlam Selje than illumination of the path to freedom, you know. And it was written by His Holiness the First Dalai Lama, whose name was Gyalwa Gendin Drup. Say Gyalwa Gendin Drup. And he lived about 1391 to 1474. He was a student of this guy, Jade Kappa, who was the founder of this. There's 4 branches of Tibetan Buddhism. He, of course, was ordained in one of the branches that, you know, he didn't invent, the one he didn't invent. And he didn't quite there was too much gray area, so he learned Sanskrit really well. He really learned debate. He didn't have any tolerance for fuzzy ideas, like fuzzy New Age things, you know. And so got into analysis and deeply into the philosophy, and taught really, really amazing stuff, and ended up being the teacher of the first Dalai Lama, among many other people. The first Dalai Lama isn't pictured here. Those are 2 of his other closest disciples, but anyway. So, so he takes the Abhidharmakosha, which is almost incomprehensible, and comes up with a commentary that also is almost incomprehensible, but struggle with it. It's a good thing. he starts like bringing in, it's like, you know, all these other realms. Well, what about people in the fourth concentration level? Do they experience this? And you're like, what? Unless you know what that means, you know. It's a whole long story covered in ACI Course 8, the various realms of existence and all of that. But there's a few good nuggets with a little bit of teaching that we can pull out of it. And I'll just say in the reading, if you get it, there's an introduction to the various schools of Buddhism, which I just touched on very closely. There's like 4 schools of philosophy about how things work.